What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over a upcoming catalyst that a lot of people seem to be overlooking. So I want to go over all the things that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Side note, Merry Christmas to all those that celebrate. Eat a lot, drink a lot, do what you need to do. Spend time with family because that ultimately is the most important thing, aside from having a good catalyst. So like that transition, pretty smooth. But aside from that, SoundHound does have a fairly good catalyst coming up. And a lot of people seem to be very focused on the short term, such as maybe a McDonald's partnership or even Burger King. There seems to be some development coming from the UK. But aside from that, though, there is one thing that's going to be coming in Q1 2025. And so ultimately, there is about 4 reassessments every year, and that is associated to the NASDAQ 500. A lot of companies strive to be on that list, and ultimately, you get on that list by market cap. So, of course, price appreciating. Right now, SoundHound is sitting at roughly about 7.48 billion. So, if we kind of pop over to here, so this is the full list of the NASDAQ 500. So the top 500 companies sitting on the based on market cap. And so if we scroll all the way down, kind of the low end seems to be around that high threes. So mid to high 3 billion market cap. So of course, if it was to be reassessed right now, SoundHound would qualify for this list. But essentially, even if it does pull back, let's say arguably about 30-40%, which some people are anticipating a pullback, some people are anticipating a push higher. Regardless though, in Q1, so most likely in spring, so I think it's kind of mid-March, this is where you will see a reassessment. So ultimately, again, if it stays the status quo price point wise up until that point, then essentially it would qualify. So why does that even matter? Why does it even matter to get added to this NASDAQ 500? Liquidity. So essentially, a lot of big money has been trading SoundHound back and forth, and I think that's just because of the future potential. But aside from that, if any company is added to this list right here, then there is a lot of individual institutions that have to buy SoundHound and hold it, not swing trade. So again, that adds a lot of stability, stronger support levels, so you won't see as crazy volatility as what you have been seeing. But again, it adds a lot of good liquidity, support levels that I think generally help the stock bigger picture. So that in reality is a very, very good catalyst that a lot of people seem to be overlooking. Again, even if it does pull back, let's say 30-40%, if you're in that individual camp that believes that it's going to come, then it still does and will qualify. So mid-March is when essentially you will see the initial reassessment, and then it will be effective most likely in April. So pretty big stuff coming for Q1 2025. And another thing I do want to bring up that essentially could really help SoundHound is that new SEC transparency rule. So I have brought that up in passing in previous videos. I don't know if I've actually fully explained that on a dedicated SoundHound video. So in case you do not know, there is a new transparency rule done and proposed by the SEC that was kind of rubber stamped end of September, I think 2023. So it is going to be fully placed in force first half of 2025. Very long delay, and of course it adds a lot of transparency against shorters. So this is why there's been a lot of hiccups throughout this time period, because you can imagine the entities that are against this transparency rule. And what I mean by that is if we pop over to Fentel, so this is actually NEO, so obviously take that into consideration, but you can kind of see these 13 Fs, so that's disclosures to the SEC. So this video is a little bit more of an educational part as well, but if we kind of sort this, you see some individuals have puts, have shorts. And so the problem with 13 Fs is if an entity is shorting, let's say NEO or SoundHound or whoever, they do not have to disclose their short position, only their long position. Any individuals short, kind of displaying their short position, that is completely voluntary. So with this new transparency rule, you will have everyone forced to show your long as well as your short position, and nobody wants to be seen as the bad guy, right? I think just generally a lot of retail already knows, even if you're in GameStop or AMC, that Citadel is kind of, they're the big bad wolf essentially in the broader market. So nobody wants to be seen as equivalent to Citadel. So that in natural nature would be a deterrent. So with that new incorporation of that transparency rule, SoundHound, which is heavily shorted, you might see shorts kind of return naturally even before profitability does occur, because they do not want to be seen as that negative kind of side. So you have two catalysts coming up at the beginning of 2025, or at least in the first half of 2025, that could really stand to help SoundHound. So you have most likely its inclusion in the NASDAQ 500, as well as that new SEC transparency rule. So I just wanted to pop on, again, spread some good cheer and all that other fun jazz. And hopefully everyone's having an amazing day, not worrying about the stock market and whatever else that could be kicking off again tomorrow. But let me know your viewpoint. How is your day going? On a side note, Merry Christmas, like I said, again, to those that celebrate. And then one final thing I just wanted to share with you. I did launch a Patreon roughly about a month and a half ago, so pop over there and take a look at a lot of my buy signals. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers, so pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.